What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy on Tap podcast. I'm your host, Eric Sonnier, with my co-host here, Blake Gambino. What's up, my boy? How you doing?
Feeling good. Didn't get too wet today at work. Ready to podcast.
Always good, dude. Always good to hear. Yeah, before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody to become an all access member of the Fantasy Six Pack to get access to our award winning rankings, our draft cheat sheets. Those drafts are coming up. Get onto those cheat sheets, DFS projections, betting tools, and other great content. Best of all, you get access to the analysis directly on our Discord where you get custom advice for your specific leagues. We're actually running a promotion right now, so go to fantasysixpack.net/plans and use the promo code F6P NFL to save 15% off the price when you sign up today. One more thing, we're going to promote a little for the Fan Tracks. It's a sleeper app for mostly for fantasy football. I mean, for fantasy baseball. Damn, I can't get that out. But they're starting to widen out to fantasy football. So, give them a look. Create a free account today at fantrax.com/fantasy six-pack and see what you've been missing. All right, so we got a few things to talk about on today's show. Mainly, we're going to start off talking about some sleepers that we both like. We both picked a few from each position, and we're kind of just going to roll off the top with those. And then, we're going to get into some news. As Saints fans, our boy Alvin Kamara, he was acquitted today. We'll get into that. I don't know if he was acquitted, but, something like that. And then, we'll wrap it up with the Scott Fishbowl drafts. They started yesterday, and I'm actually on the clock for my 7th pick. So I will make that pick live. But let's just get started with some fantasy football sleepers. I'll start it off since I put him on here. I'm going to start off with a little bit of Jared Goff. All right, so I don't even know if this dude is considered a sleeper, but I was looking at some of the ADPs of where he is, and he's like quarterback like 20, and I think that's absolutely outrageous. I think he was pretty solid last year, and then he just added two weapons, and Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. If I'm not mistaken, he was. Let me look it up to be sure. But he was pretty up there on the quarterback ratings last year. I think the Lions are trending in the right direction. I keep saying that.
QB10, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to look up to make sure. But yeah, he was. He's on the way up. The Lions are doing better. Goff is always kind of consistent because he chunks it up. Yeah, he was.
Well, I have him in.
He was quarterback 10 last year, and he looked really well. I mean, like I said, now he's got Amon-Ra. He's got Jameson Williams. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a good pass catcher, and Sam Laporta, who's going to be a red zone nightmare. So I like him. What do you think?
Well, in our 12-pack league where we get keepers, he's drafted in the 19th last year, so I could keep him in the 18th round.
That's solid.
So that's why I haven't cut him from my team because it's like, QB10 in the 18th round. That means I can now make 17 other picks that don't even have to be a QB, and I could consider myself pretty set there. Because if you're not getting Mahomes or Josh Allen or, Jalen Hurts maybe, then do you really want to spend a high pick other than like on Burrow maybe, But I'm not picking Derek Carr in the 10th round when I can get Jared Goff as a keeper in the 19th, So if you're thinking about it like that, as his ADP is really that low, then I would definitely say Jared Goff, sleeper, confirmed.
I mean, it's a 12-team league, and you got the 10th quarterback kept in one of the last rounds. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. I think the difference between quarterback 9 and quarterback 5 is not that high, I wouldn't say. It can't be that much. Like you said, if you're not getting Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, or Burrow, then really doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, it's –
Well, let's see. In this league, I also have Fields. So if I go look at Fields had 349 points, and Goff had – 376 points. That's 27 points. I mean, yeah, that's one really like that's one 50-point game compared to a 25-point game in 1 week, So yeah,
right.
Not a lot of points in between. If you don't mind checking real quick, where did Goff go in Scott Fish?
He just went in the 4th. Okay, I don't even need to look it up because I was going to pick him actually at the 4th round, but he ended up going in the 4-7. But like I said, in that league, it's kind of it's a big run on quarterbacks because of how the scoring setup is. So it's kind of a different little setup than most leagues.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I was asking. Since we're going to get to that, I know it's like a two quarterback league with tight end premium and stuff. So
yeah, he was a 4th round pick, and he's that person's quarterback too. So I mean, it's a solid pick. Kind of like the next person I want to talk about is it's Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's on the same path, but he actually is a better. He was the quarterback 6 last year, and he's going a little bit higher than Jared Goff. Not much though. Like he went in the 3rd round of that league. But I don't know why people keep sleeping on this dude. He's a he's a regular season maniac. I mean, until he gets into prime time, you might want to start somebody else then. But he's got the best receiver in football. They just drafted another receiver in Jordan Addison. He's a dog. They did lose Thielen, but I mean that's just kind of age at this point. And then they lost Alvin Cook, so they got to be throwing the ball, right?
Look, I gotta say one thing. This reminds me of like a throwback player. We're talking about this is way back now. Jeff Garcia and Terrell Owens. Was Jeff Garcia the greatest? No, but he had a little bit of running, and he had T.O., a great wide receiver, and so that made him fantasy viable for fantasy. I think Kirk Cousins is kind of the same way. Is he ever going to win the Vikings any Super Bowls? I wouldn't even think Vikings fans really feel that way. But when you have the number 1 or a top 3 wide receiver, it makes you're going to be that much better. I mean, we were talking about last week, Derek Carr. He had Devontae Adams as the number 3 wide receiver. So is Derek Carr going to win us the Super Bowl this year? I mean, we're sure hoping, but most likely he'll at least have Michael Thomas and Olave playing really well. So he's for fantasy purposes. These guys, I think, they're viable for sure. As a sleeper, I wouldn't say like your next guy, Kyler Murray. I don't know if he's really. I guess his sleeper status more comes from him being injured, right?
I think it's I mean, honestly, he's been sliding down draft boards. It's probably is because he's injured, but I think a lot of people are falling asleep on this guy. I mean, fantasy leagues last till week 17, right? I mean, so he's going to start on the PUP list, but then he's going to come back week 6, week 4, whatever it is, and he's going to ball, right? I mean, when's the last time, besides this last year when he got hurt, that Kyler Murray didn't finish in the top 10? Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray's pretty solid. He brings that running ability to the game, and he has a strong arm. He's just a little short, but doesn't really mean anything. He just runs fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason I'm hesitant on his sleeper status is just because last week I said for a redraft player to avoid, like I was fully off of him. So, and that's just more because I feel like their team's going to be really bad. So, yeah. I mean, are you really even going to want to throw? How is he going to want to play? A lot of people have the Cardinals getting the first pick and taking Caleb Williams. So how's that supposed to make Kyler Murray feel? Like, is he going to play? Is he going to pull a James Harden and just sit on the bench and not really do much because he's like, y'all don't want me anyway? So That's the kind of reason I would be worried about him. But that does add to his sleeper status in a way. Is if a lot of people are thinking this way, you can get him in a later at the back end of draft. And if he comes out and plays like he did his rookie year, I mean, he was a rushing threat and he threw for 25 plus touchdowns. And those are quarterbacks you want nowadays. You want a guy who can get you some rushing yards on top. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's switch over to the running back position. I'm going to start off with the one that I wrote down. It's going to be Elijah Mitchell. And I think that the reason that he's kind of fallen out, obviously you have Christian McCaffrey over there, and Christian McCaffrey's a baller. But let's not forget that the past 2 seasons before this one, Christian McCaffrey was out for the season both times. And even when Christian McCaffrey played last year, all year, Elijah Mitchell, when he got traded to the 49ers, I feel like Elijah Mitchell split the carries with them. I mean, I don't know if you watched a lot of that, but I was a Christian McCaffrey owner last year in our big league. And I was getting pretty frustrated seeing Elijah Mitchell in the game as much as he was. But hey,
I had Elijah Mitchell, so
yeah,
I was hot on him. Yeah, it was great to see. I think that's one thing we know about San Francisco, especially with the coach. Anybody can get the rock that day. They're just going to run the hot hand. And of course, McCaffrey, because they spent the money on him and traded the picks for him, he's going to play a lot more. But if he's not running between the tackles as well, that's what they really want to do. If he's more of just a passing threat that day, a receiving threat, then Elijah Mitchell is going to get you 15 carries and 70 yards minimum and a goal line touch or two. Just because, and think about it this way too. They don't want to wear, if McCaffrey is going to play all year and they think they're going to be a Super Bowl bound team, they're not going to want to wear McCaffrey down so early in the season. So I could see Elijah Mitchell being a good week 1 through 8 maybe player, and then maybe McCaffrey coming on at the end, which doesn't push McCaffrey down the board, I don't think, because he's still going to be a solid player. But I expect to see McCaffrey's points more towards the end of the season start to ramp up as long as he doesn't get injured.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the exact point I'm going to make when I was going to talk about McCaffrey. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, like I said, he even split the carries with McCaffrey there. You want McCaffrey to stay fresh, so why not put Elijah Mitchell in? He's a young guy. He runs the ball pretty hard, I would say. I mean, now he has something to work for. He's trying to get there. He's trying to be the starter. I mean, he lost his job to McCaffrey, right? Like I said, he doesn't want to sit on the bench. He's going to be working hard, and he's going to want to get some field time. It's kind of what I'm saying with this next guy with Samaje Perine. We both kind of put him on our list because Javonte Williams is coming off of a pretty serious knee injury, which they're both saying that he's going to be okay, and they're going to start week 1. But still, I mean, with the Sean Payton-led offense, I don't know. As Saints fans, we know Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. We've talked about this last podcast. They always run a 2-back system, so I don't really expect that to change. So I expect Samaje Perine to catch a lot of passes.
Yeah, and I've actually had Perine a few years in fantasy, and he's a lot shiftier than you think. I think he even had like a 40-yard touchdown against the Chiefs a few years ago in the playoffs, where Burrow just kind of got it to him in the outlet, and I mean he was just gone. And like you kind of look at a shorter, stockier looking dude with a big old beard, and you're not thinking he's going to be pretty quick, but I think the guy's a lot faster than people think. So I really do expect to see him involved in the passing game, involved in the screen game. One thing we know for sure, like Pierre Thomas, undrafted guy out of like Illinois State or something like that, became a Super Bowl stud because he's catching screen passes. Now no one throws a screen pass like Drew Brees did, but maybe Wilson's going to be watching some Drew Brees film, trying to learn how to throw the screen so good, So we know the screen's going to be there. I'm talking 5 screens a game probably. That's
Absolutely.
Hopefully at least 3 catches. If you're getting 10 yards right there, that's 3 catches for 30 yards and 6 points off of a guy who's supposed to be a backup running back. So I think you can definitely think of picking Samaje Perine and Elijah Mitchell pretty late in your drafts as handcuffs, even if you have the guys starting ahead of them. And you can look to, even if they pan out, to be starters. I did the same thing last year with Tony Pollard. People weren't as high as they are on him now. And Zeke was hurt or wasn't playing as well, and then Pollard's coming out here busting long runs, scoring, and I had the guy for like a 12th-round pick or something. So I think it's good to target guys like this who aren't number 1 on the depth chart, but can definitely have number 1 weeks weekly in fantasy. So I like that pick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about that pass catching, especially in most leagues where you do PPR. Samaje Perine should be pretty well. I mean, especially looking at the Broncos last year, they weren't very good. But I mean, I expect them to do a little bit more. But as we were talking about earlier, Sean Payton in that passing offense, he's gonna throw the ball. Like you said, he's gonna get screens. He's gonna get a lot of carries by the goal line. Sean Payton likes to rotate, so I expect him to do well. This next guy, I don't know if he's even really a sleeper at this point. I'm talking about Alexander Mattison. Dalvin Cook's gone to who knows? He hasn't even signed with money yet. Alexander Mattison, I think, has been pretty solid anytime he starts the past couple of years when Dalvin Cook's been injured. So I think that he has an opportunity to do something good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm kind of, when I saw this one on the doc, I was kind of thinking, like, I mean, he's not technically a sleeper, right? Because they just cut Dalvin Cook to keep this guy. So if anything, this guy's stock's kind of at an all-time high. But for guys like me and you who've had him on fantasy teams over the past couple of years, we're kind of already in on him. So even though his stock might be going up, like other people might be drafting this guy a lot higher than me and you still would draft him. And so that makes him a sleeper in our eyes, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Vikings were one of the most run-heavy teams last year. People wouldn't think that either because they have Justin Jefferson, but that's just kind of their scheme. They want to get downhill, run between the tackles, get the clock moving. Then they want to start peppering guys. That's why I actually, when I sent you Addison, I was kind of thinking of him as one of our sleepers we could have. But that's all. When we get to wide receivers, we'll talk about that.
It's hard to put like rookies as sleepers. You know what I mean? Because they're going to draft them. You don't really know what's going to happen with them. You don't know if they're going to have the upside, the downside. It's really a crapshoot. So you don't really know to call a rookie a sleeper. Unless they're like just forgotten about. You know what I mean? Like Addison was a 1st-round pick. I mean, how can he really be a sleeper this year? He's gonna, you know what I mean? Like maybe if somebody in like the 6th round receiver nobody knows about, maybe he can be a sleeper, but it's kind of hard to say a first-round pick of the following year as a sleeper. But yeah, let's switch over to receivers. Did you want to start off with one of yours?
Well, I mean, look, I got Calvin Ridley. Let's start with him. I actually have Toney in both of those dudes. Either one doesn't matter. Let's start with Toney actually, because I feel like his stock's been wavering. People are like, well, we don't know here, but
These videos have been coming out.
Yeah, I mean, when you got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, the Chiefs traded draft capital to get you. And then we have seen some games. I remember he played against the Saints one week, and he was getting peppered with targets and was looking like a beast. So this is another one of those guys where his injury concerns, his hamstring, and the hamstrings with wide receivers are really iffy. So if he's not getting these soft tissue injuries, I just don't see how he can't be a top fantasy wide receiver this year, top 15 minimum. I mean, we're talking about Mahomes. If you think Mahomes is going to be the top quarterback, it's not just going to be based off of Kelsey. He threw to guys last year, and Kelsey was still a beast. So, I mean, I really think Toney's got the skill set, and he's got the quarterback now. So it's just about, can he stay healthy?
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, like you were saying. And I was reading something today that said the Chiefs are hoping that that Kadarius Toney can be that that wide receiver one, that big guy. A lot of teams are going to focus in on Kelsey, like you were saying, and I mean, everybody knows that Patrick Mahomes has just a monster arm, and Kadarius Toney is fast, right? I mean, so I think he can be that deep threat wide receiver one, and I just traded for him in a Cuba league, so let's hopeful that happens. We switch over to this next guy, which I don't really think he should be a sleeper, but just depending on like how long he's been out of the game, is Calvin Ridley, right? I mean, he's on a new team. He's on the Jags with Trevor Lawrence. He's got some competition over there with Christian Kirk, but still, Calvin Ridley is a beast. He was balling out for the Falcons. I mean, as we know, anytime he played us, he was always pretty good.
Alabama product. We saw him play LSU too. Yeah, so
he's always
been
pretty
a good player for a while.
LSU. He's been dominating Louisiana for a while, so we know all about him. He's a dude's a beast. He's fast. He's a good route runner. As long as he hasn't lost a step in these past 2 years, I think he's going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, look, I got him in one league. I've literally had him. I want to say someone cut him when he got suspended for the year in our other league, in one of our 12-man leagues, and so I just have literally had like wasting a roster spot on this dude for like over a year, just waiting. And when he landed in Jacksonville, I have to say I was really pleased. A funny thing about that actually is I think I read that the team he got caught betting on was the Jags, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah. So now he plays for the Jags. No more betting on them. Yeah, right. No more betting on them. So. Yeah, I like the dude. He's definitely a route runner type player. When he was really playing well, too, he had Julio Jones on the other side, kind of taking some pressure off. Christian Kirk had a really good year last year. I don't think people realize how good his year was last year.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it's going to be just Calvin Ridley getting all the number one quarterback attention. So I really think you can't go wrong with either one of those guys this year, Calvin Ridley or Christian Kirk. Trevor Lawrence is really coming into his own now, dude. He's not having to deal with Urban Meyer as his coach. He's in the same system for another year. And this was a guy who, if you remember, they were talking about him being the next Peyton Manning. So if this dude's really coming into his own, he's got a good arm. He's reading the defense. Why can't Calvin Ridley be a beast this year? So I like him as a sleeper.
Absolutely. Christian Kirk was wide receiver 11 last year, by the way, just so reference. I think Evan Ingram had his best season in the pros as well. So, Trevor Lawrence is a good passer, so I expect Calvin Ridley to ball out with him as well. This next guy, dude, it's another guy that it just shouldn't be a sleeper, man. It's Michael Thomas, dude. It's our boy. It's our boy in the black and gold. It's just hard to say he's a sleeper.
I was wondering, on the thing, you wrote Michael Pittman, even though I said Michael Thomas. On the doc,
I changed it. Yeah. I changed it to Michael Thomas because you put Michael Thomas, so I want to do 3 and 3. But Michael Thomas, man.
Well, that's good. Like I said, I was wondering why Michael Thomas wasn't on there. So I saw Michael Pittman Jr. and I was like, He's more just stock down for me than
Right.
anything, just because of
It's just the injuries, man. Michael Thomas when he was playing last year, he played for what, like 3 or 4 games. He scored a touchdown in pretty much all of those games. The first game of the season,
3 games, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was in the Falcons arena last year for the first week. Saw him catch those 2 touchdowns all over AJ Terrell, who they're saying is one of the best cornerbacks in the game. Michael Thomas is still Michael Thomas, guys. If he is able to play, he'll be fine. I saw a little video of him deadlifting a ton of weight recently, so I can't imagine.
550, I think. No, 615. It was some crazy number. Yeah.
It was something ridiculous. The dude's looking strong, and he came back on a prove-it deal. So, I mean, it's time to prove it.
Look, I think that's kind of the best thing you said about it, too, is like he restructured his massive, biggest wide receiver deal ever contract to not fully incentive laden, but like you said, a prove it deal. And he actually posted something on Twitter the other day talking about Gail Benson, the owner of the Saints.
Yeah.
Saying she was in the drip, she had on the couture, the Gucci, some.
He loves it here. I don't want to hear when people say he doesn't. He likes to be here. There's no way he doesn't.
Yeah, I really think he does like the area. He likes the team. I think obviously he likes the management if he's shouting out the owner like that, because most guys aren't cool with the owner like that unless it's like the Patriots owner, Robert Kraft. So I think that was a good sign. And I love to look on his Instagram and see him working out. People, a little Twitter video got out a couple weeks ago because the offensive line coach said he thinks he'll be healthy come the beginning of the season. He didn't say he was healthy. He said he thinks he will be healthy. And it was just like one of those, like, you take the guy's words out of context, like he's just speculating on.
Yeah. But I mean, if people listen, Dennis Allen said, and we expect him to be there for first week of training camp. So if y'all are paying attention in OTAs just a couple of weeks ago, he was out there practicing. He wasn't like doing full drills, but I mean, you don't want to waste that. He wanted him to be fully healthy going into the first week of training camp. There's no reason for him to be 100% working out right now. In OTAs, I expect him, first week of training camp to be full go. I think he's gonna have that bounce back season that we've been waiting for the past few years. I mean, it's been 3 years, right, since he's been good. Like, it's been 3 straight years of injuries. I mean, it's time. Yeah. It's time to be back, Michael Thomas. We miss you, dog. Shout out to Marlon. You suck. Michael Thomas is gonna ball out and show you what's up. You know how he is, Michael Thomas. But yeah, so
he just hates the flexing. When he sees the flexing, he gets mad. But I can't wait to see him flex this season.
If DeVonta Smith's skinny little butt was doing it, he'd be like, "Oh, DeVonta Smith." Yeah, well, whatever. So
Eagles.
Yeah, we can talk about Saints stuff all day long. We're going to talk about more of it a little bit, but we're going to switch over to the tight ends. First one on the board, like I said, another guy that's been pretty good to begin with is Tyler Higbee. Look at the I think you got the wrong nuts. I put Juwan Johnson instead of Dalton Kincaid, by the way. Tyler Higbee.
Oh, you must have updated it. My bad. Okay.
Yeah. So Tyler Higbee, he's Matt Stafford likes his tight ends, and I don't want to be sound too controversial, but he does seem to like his white boys too. So Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee, man. Tyler Higbee is I don't know. He's always around. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, look, for their offense, I think having that guy, if he's not, I don't even think he would be a top 10 tight end drafted, really. So, I mean, yeah, that's a sleeper because he'll definitely get over 100 targets in that offense, I would assume, especially because they have absolutely no wide receivers other than Cooper Kupp, right? I mean, Tutu Atwell maybe.
They got rid of Bobby Trees. But like I said, Tyler Higbee is always around. And if you go back and look, Matt Stafford is always really focused on the tight ends because Matt Stafford likes to throw the ball. Let's just get that right. He likes to chunk it about 40, 30 times a game. The dude likes to play. And Tyler Higbee seems to always be on the field. So, like you said, if Cooper Kupp is getting all the coverage, then I think I expect Tyler Higbee to be open down the middle of the field, especially when on a position that's really easy to crack the top 10. Difference between tight end 6 and tight end 12 really probably isn't that many points. Bringing it up to our next guy, your boy, if you want to introduce him, old Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson. And just real quick, going back to what you just said about cracking the top 10. Last year, I said this in my article. I might have said this last week too, but I just got to reiterate. Last year, Taysom Hill was tight end 9. And he had 7 catches, I think. He had under 10 catches.
He throws it, he runs it in. That's a little different.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that's how easy it is. We're talking about, Travis Kelce has over 100 catches, And then we got the tight end 9 had 9 catches or something, So it's like definitely if you're not getting Kelsey, then the other guys, take a shot at a guy you like. That's why we have Laporta and Juwan Johnson on here. I like Juwan Johnson. He's speedy when he does finally catch the ball because he's had some drops issues, but he gets targeted in the red zone and he's fast. And in today's day and age, when you got linebackers covering tight ends, you want somebody to be speedy. So this dude's he can break a tackle and run for and get some yak, and that's what you're looking for on a guy who might not catch 10 balls a game, but if he catches 4 balls a game, 70 yards and a touchdown, that's pretty solid. That's 17 points for a tight end. That's solid. That's what you're looking for. I still don't think with having Taysom Hill being listed in fantasy at tight end that Juwan Johnson's going to get drafted very high. And that's the definition of a sleeper because I started him all last year and I was like the 3 seed in our league because I had the Giants or now Giants guy, Darren Waller, and he was hurt. So I'm starting Juwan Johnson all year long. And there was a few weeks where he was tight end 2 or tight end 3. So I look for that to improve as long as he stays healthy. The reason Darren Waller got good was because who was thrown to him? Derek Carr. Now we have Derek Carr. So I just don't see how we don't. They're obviously not exactly similar skill sets. Darren Waller's definitely a lot taller than Juwan Johnson, but I think their speed is pretty similar, and that's kind of what made, other than his height, that's what made Juwan Johnson get open. So, Darren Waller get open so much was he was super speedy. He was like a wide receiver almost. So, Juwan Johnson, that's my pick.
Yeah. I like his hands too. He had some pretty nice catches last year. And then, like you said, the speed is something that separates him from the pack. A lot of slow tight ends out there in the league that do pretty well. So I can't imagine a fast one is going to do just as good. Rounding out the tight ends, it's kind of hard. Like I was telling you earlier, it's kind of hard to say a sleeper as a rookie. But Sam Laporta, tight end for the Lions. As we were talking about earlier, Jared Goff is coming into his own. Actually, I don't even want to say that. Jared Goff has been in the Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been a decent quarterback for a while now. But Sam Laporta, they're saying he's eating up the red zone targets and he's going to be a dominant monster. They don't really have that receiver that's really tall and ready to, jump over everybody. Amon-Ra's kind of isn't like the tallest guy. He's pretty good, but he's not like, a red zone, I'm going to jump over you, Michael Thomas kind of guy. Sam Laporta is a big body. Jimmy Graham was in that age when Dan Campbell was the coach over there with the Saints. He was over there when we had Jimmy Graham. So I'm sure that's kind of the similar way he's going to use Sam Laporta. So hopefully he comes into a few touchdowns like I'm predicting.
Yeah, I don't hate that as a sleeper pick, honestly. I think his stock's kind of – a lot of people have been kind of talking about him now, so his stock is on the rise. So he'll by the time we draft, I don't think he'll be a sleeper anymore. But if you're drafting in the next week or two, I still think you can get him probably like tight end 12 or something, which would be totally a sleeper. And I think you could expect him to perform as a top 5 tight end, hopefully. So,
and like you
said saying, with Tyler Higbee, when Tyler Higbee was good, 12. It was Jared Goff that was his quarterback. So these are all things that you got to be connecting. Like I said, with Derek Carr and Darren Waller, now Derek Carr with Juwan Johnson. These are some things you got to connect here, and that's what we're looking at. I'm thinking Sam Laporta, it could definitely be drafted as a sleeper, but outperform his draft status too. I think that's what we could say really is our status for a sleeper too, our definition of what a sleeper is. You might draft him as tight end 12, but he's going to perform way above that, and that's why he's a sleeper to us.
Right. I like him. I like the pick. And like we were saying, tight end 12 and tight end 6 aren't really that far apart. So if he has a couple touchdowns, I think he has a chance to be top 10, top 5. But yeah, that's our sleepers for the 2023 season. We're gonna have some more going forward. We kind of just want to do a little rundown. It's still July, still a little early. Once training camps come around, we're gonna be able to get some more guys. Once some more news come out, we'll have some more breaking news, like some of this news we're about to tell you right now, because our boy is on the Saints. I think the Alvin Kamara news that just broke is actually pretty awesome. Let's just go ahead and read what the report says. It says that Saints running back Alvin Kamara pled no contest to a misdemeanor charge stemming from Las Vegas nightclub incident. Kamara pled no contest to a breach of peace charges. I want you to take a note of that, and was sentenced to community service and $100,000 in damages. So basically, the dude got $100,000 for getting beat up, and he took the apology and moved on. That's really what I'm seeing from it. A misdemeanor breach of peace charges. It's not even like a misdemeanor, a battery assault. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything like
Right.
that. We were expecting the worst at 6 games. I mean, that's what we were expecting before. Now I'm kind of thinking that maybe it's going to be in the 0 to 4 range, right? I mean, it's got to be some good news.
Yeah, my dad sent me the same text earlier, and I kind of said the same thing, and he says that the minimum for these type of suspensions has been 6 games, but that was, like you said, he didn't read the breach of peace part, so maybe he still thinks it's assault, which I think when it's a violent act like that, they have it in the CBA that it's a 6-game suspension. Now, we know the act itself maybe was violent because it was a fight, but when you're pleading to a breach of peace, that's a lot different. You know, sometimes that's like being too rowdy out in the club or something, you know, like just like being like way too drunk or something. So I really do. I'm in agreement with you. I could definitely see not 0, but I'm thinking 2 to 6 games, 2 to 4 would be great in that range. If we're looking for some positives, 2 to 4 is what we're kind of looking at now. It's the Saints, you know, the league doesn't really like us. Goodell's never really liked us. So, I mean,
that's also what I was
thinking. I'm still leaning towards it probably being 6. I was already okay with 6. So, I mean, if we get 5, I'll be like, great. But free AK-41, man, he's going to be a beast this year. And
that's something I was thinking. It was just like, it's if this dude was on the Chiefs, I think he'd be scot-free, right? I mean, let's just be real. If I was seeing something that said after the rulings of the courts kind of come official, the league looks into it. It's really about what they think. You know what I mean? They're going to see an assault charge. It's not going to be just like, okay,
and there's a video.
Right, there's a video, so they're not gonna just not suspend him. That's just like a pipe dream. But I mean, we can always have hope. So what all this is, what we're getting to is Alvin Kamara is going to get less of a suspension. And fantasy football playoffs don't start week 6. I have news for everybody. And honestly, that could be good for the playoffs because let's say he gets suspended for the first 6 weeks, you stash him on your bench, you pick him in like the 7th, 8th round, and he comes back in week 6. That's a running back 1 on your team. Alvin Kamara doesn't finish lower than running back 10, right? I mean, like that doesn't just happen. We have a new quarterback. He's going to throw the ball a lot. He's going to open up the field for him to run the ball, and I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a great season, especially coming in with fresh legs week 7 or whatever week it is. Then he's going to have a bye week, so he's going to have time to recover, time to be the Alvin Kamara that we've known and loved for the past few years. I mean, obviously last year was kind of a down year, but it was a down year for the whole entire Saints team except for really Olave.
Hey, look at it this way too. Maybe if he does, let's say he gets suspended 4 weeks, right? Maybe in those 4 weeks, Jamal Williams and Kendra Miller come out and are looking awesome. And then now Kamara's going to come back and be like, this is my turn. And he's going to come and show out. So that's something you're looking for too. Kamara's been a great player, catching 70-plus balls a year, getting over 150 carries. Usually he's around 850 yards receiving and rushing, talking 1,700 total yards. I think 1 year he had 20 touchdowns. So this is a guy who can be a stud when he's featured in the offense. If he's getting 6 games of rest, technically, because like me and you are both saying, you're not winning your league. I started a league 0-5 1 year, got 2nd place in the end. So, I mean, you don't have to – you can go 0-5 and still make it to the championship, man, if you just draft the right players. And this Alvin Kamara could really – once we know what his suspension status is, I could see putting him on the sleeper list because a lot of guys that are rookies in this aren't going to want to touch a guy who's got a suspension. Same with the wide receiver that got suspended 6 games for the Lions, who I picked last year, Jameson Williams, right? Nobody's going to want to pick that dude because they're like, oh, he's suspended. But it's like, dude, in the first 6 weeks, that's meaningless, dude. Like, don't pick him as your wide receiver 1, obviously. But you pick that guy at the end of, round 14, and he's your wide receiver 5, and then all of a sudden he's playing like wide receiver 2 or 3, then you just got to steal. This is you're trying to make value out of players when you're making these picks. Kamara is a running back 2 at the floor, I think, weekly. So if you're getting an RB2 in the 8th, 9th, 10th round, maybe he doesn't play the first 6 weeks. Guess what? He's going to play in the playoff weeks. We got games scheduled. He doesn't really get injured. He'll be there, I think. So I say we could just throw an AK-41 on the sleeper list right now.
Okay. All right. So, that's our breaking news for the week. We'll probably, like I said, during the season, we'll have more, because there'll be a lot more news going on. I'm sure there is more, but, we're Saints fans, so we wanted to get that out there. But moving on to our last topic of the day, we're going to discuss a little bit about the Scott Fishbowl draft that just started. All the drafts started at 9 a.m. Central Time on Monday. And so that's yesterday. So we're actually kind of moving kind of quick. I've actually made it to the 7th round. I've made 6 picks, and I'm actually on the clock for my 7th pick right now. So we're going to make that pick on the air. So we'll tell you a little bit about who I've picked so far. For those that aren't familiar with the league, it's a super flex league. You can start 2 quarterbacks, and the tight ends get a extra point PPR. So it's 2 points PPR for tight ends, 1 point for running back, receivers, all that good stuff. So first pick, I went with Justin Herbert. I thought I was going to get Trevor Lawrence here. That's kind of where all my mocks went. But when Justin Herbert fell to me, I wasn't too mad about it. He was always mocked ahead of me, so I was happy with that. Then I went with Bijan Robinson at the 2.4. I did pick a dirty bird, and that's usually something I pride myself on, is not like favoring teams when I'm making fantasy picks. I like to win, not to be in love with my team. Austin Eckler and Jonathan Taylor were the 2 running backs I was going to pick. Instead of there, they both got picked right before me, so I wasn't too mad about Bijan. Then I had a little surprise that Stefon Diggs fell all the way to the 3-4. I mean, he's wide receiver 1 for the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Then I kind of had a homer pick who also I didn't think was going to be there at 4-9, which was Chris Olave. I mean, Chris Olave he's already was a wide receiver 1 last year. He's going to step up even further. And then they had like kind of a quarterback run right before the Chris Olave pick. That's kind of how he fell to me. So like I just didn't see any quarterbacks there worth picking at the next pick in my 5-4. But I did see a really good receiver because I wanted Derek Carr in my 5-4. That's who I was going to pick to stack with Chris Olave. But like I said, it didn't work out like that. Derek Carr went 2 picks before me. So I ended up picking, and the best quarterback next was like Jordan Love. That's like the only other quarterback that's went since then. I wasn't picking him.
Ooh, no way I'm picking that, dude.
I actually picked at 5-4. I picked DeVonta Smith. So I think that's another steal. So my 3 receivers are all pretty solid. I wouldn't have to say. I mean, my receiver 3 is a top 10 receiver from last year. So no, it's you spelled his name wrong. It's Debonta. I had to look it up too. He's kind of a different, like a capital V. Yeah.
Oh.
DeVonta Smith.
Like LeBron. Okay.
Yeah. And then at 6'9", I just made that pick a few minutes ago. I had to pick a quarterback because, like I said, you got to start 2. Most quarterbacks are going to score more points than other people. So I went with Matthew Stafford as a 6'9". I was thinking about picking him at the 5th. So when he fell to me as a 6, I was pretty excited about that. Yeah. So that brings me here. I got a running back. I got 3 receivers, and I got 2 quarterbacks. So I'm good on receivers and quarterbacks for now. I'm looking to think about some running backs and tight ends. So I'm going to just kind of read off a couple of dudes I'm thinking about, starting off with our boy AK. I'm starting off, think he's on the board still. Rachaad White's on the board still. Let's see.
Like I said, I'm avoiding Rachaad White at all costs. Like, no.
I'm kind of leaning towards him, I'm going to be honest with you, because I think he's going to catch a lot of passes.
Over Kamara after everything we just said, and he's a Saints player? Like,
he's my running back.
Did you see what Scott Fish tweeted, though?
What did he tweet?
Oh, you do have 2 wide receivers. I mean, you do have 2 Saints players. But Scott Fish just was tweeting. He was saying, like, you pick to have a fun time. Like, you're probably not going to win, so have a fun team, man. You want to root for
Chris Olave, but like it's just like this. Okay, so I didn't tell you about this. Playoffs start in this league in week 11. Like they start coming around in week 11. Okay. So it's 6 week of playoff. So it does kind of, that's like half the season right there without Kamara, and I don't have another running back. So that's why I'm kind of like, I was thinking about not picking him, but I was also thinking about Javonte Williams, and then trying to stack him later on with Samaje Perine just in case, like because we were just talking about that. So that's really kind of where I'm leaning. The tight ends are kind of weak. I do need a tight end, but they're kind of weak right here. So I think I can wait a little bit longer on that. So I definitely think I'm going running back here. So the options are really, I'm not picking David Montgomery this as my running back too. I think that's silly. Isaiah Pacheco, Rachaad White, Javonte Williams, and Alvin Kamara. Those are really the options. I mean, Dalvin Cook's still on the board, but I don't know what team he's going to, Yeah,
that's tough. So who was the best tight end? Freiermuth, you said?
Yeah, Freiermuth. So I think we can wait on him. So
yeah, but you don't have any tight ends, and it's tight end premium. I mean, who's the next tight end after Freiermuth?
David Njoku, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet.
Ooh, I almost put Schultz on my sleeper list. I mean, they've been talking good about.
I do need a tight end, but like at this point, it's like
you can wait.
They're not going to get a lot of catches. I mean, and a lot of other teams got tight ends. So I really think I should pick Rachaad White. I just don't know why just reading it, they want him to be more involved in the passing game. He's going to catch a lot of passes. Who else do they have over there for running backs? That's what I'm saying. Like, who they got? Deuce Vaughn. They didn't sign McElhinney, so he's gone. But I really like Javonte, so like I'm really kind of leaning towards him. That's my boy. I'm just kind of
look. I mean, like I just said, I would definitely go AK or Javonte over Rashad. That's just me, though.
That's fair. I mean, I definitely don't hate the pick either way. I think I'm going to get a good player here.
Do you think? Do you think Kamara goes like in what round did you say you're in? This is round 8.
Yeah, I'm in 7. 7.4 is where I'm at.
7. Okay, so could you get him back around at 8.6 or whatever?
Who, Kamara?
However it flips. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely possible. They got some stud receivers on the board. So Keenan Allen, Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, they're all still available. So
I like your receivers, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried about receivers. But I'm saying, like, maybe they're going to occupy some picks. I don't pick again for a while, though. So, like, it's like I don't pick again for 24 picks, right? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 picks. So I just don't think these running backs will be the same. I definitely need to go running back. I just don't know which one to pick between Rachaad White, Javonte, or Kamara. That's really where I'm at right here.
This is where it all happens, people. The pick is in, and he hasn't made it yet because this is what happens. You start second guessing. You're like, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? I think everything we just said about Kamara, I don't know. How can we make this podcast and then you not make that pick? Like, you're in the 7th round. We know his suspension is going to be shortened. He's a beast. I'm wearing the jersey, bro. Like, I don't know.
He is so good. I love Kamara. It's just.
I mean, think about it this way. Javonte is the same. It's Sean Payton, right? So it's the same thing. He's coming off of that injury, so his first 4 games aren't going to be as good, maybe because he's going to be getting back into the groove. Javonte or Kamara, I really don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys.
Yeah, I think.
Plus, you got Bijan as your only running back, dude.
I know, but I think that's solid. That dude's gonna eat up carries.
Well, you have to start 2 running backs in this league, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at your team and you're saying, I'm starting Bijan Robinson and Kamara or Bijan Robinson and Devontae, like those aren't that sounds great. You know what I'm saying? Like now, if you wait, and if your second dude is Rachaad White, I'm gonna just thumbs down your team immediately. Like, I'm just letting you know. Maybe that's meaningless, but every time Connor sends me a freaking draft and his 2 starters are like Rachaad White and like I sent one the other day. It's so terrible. Rachaad White was the starter with like I can't even remember the other guy. That's how bad it was. I was like, this is terrible. I don't want this.
It should. I think. You know what? I'm making the decision. I'm going to pick it, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. I think the only reason I'm not going to pick the guy that you're harping for is because I already have Olave. I don't want to put those eggs all in the Saints basket until I see some offense. I'm going to pick Javonte Williams.
The pick is in.
I think he was always going to be the pick. I like Javonte Williams.
No, I mean, yeah, you've had him. Is this spelled any certain way? Just Javonte?
Javonte,
not like Devonte.
Javonte.
Okay,
yeah.
so I spelled Devonte the same way, so that's what I was saying. His is spelled a little different. The pick is in. It's Javonte Williams, running back, Denver, coming off of a serious knee injury. But when he played, it didn't come up. But when he played, the dude looked really great. I mean, he was making Melvin Gordon ride the bench. So, Melvin Gordon's still got some tread on the tire. So
he's not even on the team anymore. He's on the Chiefs. That's Samaje Perine. Yeah.
I meant last year he was making Gordon ride the bench because he was playing so well. So.
Dude's good. I'm going for it. I picked him. It's locked in. I'm gonna make the Twitter post. I've been posting all my picks on Twitter. So if y'all want to check out my team along the way, it's Eric at Eric07294. But yeah, that's our podcast for the week. Sleepers, Kamara, and some Scott Fishbowl. Hopefully by next podcast I'll have a full team. I mean, it's going pretty quick. We're only 2 days in. I just picked my 7th pick, so I think that's gonna go good. You got any last remarks?
Hey guys, we're having fun out here. We're doing these pods. I'm hoping to get into some Scott Fish next year. I'm already I'm already in line for any alternates he was going to do. He said on Twitter if people drop out and stuff. And then I'm already in line for next year. You know, I got my name in my name in the hat, or name in the bowl maybe, you know, to be picked for next year in one of the cool divisions that y'all are doing. So I'm hoping to get in it next year. Comment down below if you're still here. Comment down below who's your team, who you like. Tell us who was your best fantasy player last year. You know, get us some comments down on these videos. We like to see who's watching. We want to know who your team is and who you support. You know, is this just Saints fans still watching now? You know, or is there some Packers fans out there who are really mad that I said double thumbs down to Jordan Love? I mean, let me know. I want to know these.
Let him know. Roast him.
I
He
mean,
likes to be
are the
roasted.
Packers going to finish last in their division? I mean, it's certainly possible. If you don't like me saying that, comment down below. We just want to see some feedback from you guys. Hope you all are liking the podcast. We're having fun, trying to get better. I myself am trying to get better as a producer. Most of the time, you got dudes producing behind the scenes. So I'm like co-hosting and producing. It's been fun though. I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna put that on my resume, you know. So I'm having fun though. It's good to see you, bro. And I think we're ready to tap out.
We're tapping out. See y'all next time.
All right. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Don't forget.